Right, let's continue to speak about the two-pot retirement system with Lunga Mahlaba, who's the Communications and Business Development Manager at Inkunzi Wealth Group, on the two-pot retirement system and resignation consequences. A very good evening to you. Welcome to the late edition. Thanks for your time. We've just listened to the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, saying people must think carefully. If it were up to him, he'd encourage them not to withdraw. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, the minister is making sound information. It's basically depending on your situation. We wouldn't also encourage people to take these monies because of the tax implications to it, and also the fact that you're losing the compounding factor, which if you had invested would then yield better outcomes. However, you do have different situations for different people, so there's no blanket approach to it. Basically, you need to understand your situation, talk to someone who knows about these things, and then make more informed decisions.
What would the tax implications be? How different would they be when one withdraws now or later when retirement comes? Because either way, you will be taxed.
Yes, yeah. So we must also remember that, when you were, if you are then to retire later on, when you at retirement age, you are also then going to be taxed on the income that you are going to then receive on your retirement or pension funds money. So now this is now being taxed now, and you are taxed at your marginal tax rates. It's on a sliding scale. So the higher then the income, then the higher also the bracket you go towards. So yeah.
What major changes does the two-pot retirement system bring to the retirement landscape and the rules governing retirement funds should one wait until they retire, or they're at retiring age right now as the two-pot system is being implemented?
Okay, so basically the system is now saying all new contributions, as you know, there will be two components, which are what called pots. So the savings compartments, pots, and also retirement pots. So then 1/3 goes to the savings pots of the contributions, and then 2/3 goes to the retirement pots. If you were to make an example, 3,000 Rand, which will contribute towards a retirement fund, you'll be able to then put in 1,000 on the savings compartment or pot, and then the 2/3, which is 2,000 Rand, you will then put in your retirement pot. Now the retirement pot will then be locked, right? You won't be able to access that up until you reach retirement age. However, we always say it's 3 pots because remember, you had monies already invested or contributed prior to this new system being implemented. So all monies contributed from when you started working up until the 31st of August, then that's the money that you currently have, which you can then seed off the 10%, the greater of or 30,000 maximum to the savings component, whereby you can then have that access to that money, which will also then be subject to tax and also some admin fees. So what we usually then try and encourage is that members must be able to then communicate with their fund administrators to understand their funding levels in terms of how much they've been contributing, and also to understand the mechanics in terms of how much I will then be taxed, including the claiming process and also the admin fees to it. Because we usually say you can even leverage these monies. You can take the components from the savings, invest it in a professional manner, which will probably then yield better outcomes in terms of the investment returns. So as I did indicate, there's no one formula. Each person has his own unique circumstances, which we then need to look at more carefully when you talk to the correct people.
Talking about formulas and circumstances, we would often see individuals who are eager to cash out on retirement funds, either resigning, some going as far as a divorce. What happens to the two-pot retirement system when you resign?
Okay, let's first maybe understand the current regime or the current structure. So remember, when you resigned, there are withdrawal tax tables and also there are retirement tax tables. So currently, before the 1st of September, if you resign, you could be taxed up to 36%. So if you had R1,000,000, you could then be taxed almost 360,000, right? So there was a very high level of tax for resignations in the current sort of format. So within the new sort of structure, let's say now it's the 1st of September, there are new then contributions. So when you exit the system, right, the resignation, which is also the exit, then you would then be able to only access or only get the vested pot, which is from the vested rights, and also your savings pot. Now, your retirement pot will then be locked up until you reach retirement age. However, you do have mechanisms or options. You can do things like resign and transfer, whereby then you can put it to like an investment sort of firm or company that specializes in retirement structure.
Will one be allowed to make a withdrawal from the retirement component if they transfer it to perhaps a preservation fund?
Okay, so because the whole system has changed in terms of the the Pension Fund Act and also some of the government sort of acts, which is the GPF Act. So basically, once you have moved it over, depending on your age, then there is also that limit.
Yeah. And very lastly, before we let you go, you spoke earlier about the different circumstances that people may face as you responded to Minister Enoch Godongwana, urging people to perhaps think carefully and not cash out now. What would you say would be some of the pressing factors that could push someone to getting the money and using it wisely without squandering the payout? What advice would you give?
Okay, so yeah, we definitely wouldn't provide advice, but we probably provide information and communication.
Okay.
So we would usually say take the money and put it in sort of structures or portfolios that would yield better outcomes or returns compared to maybe the fund that you are currently under. So those are some of the options that you then consider. But as we did mention that each person, based on the risk tolerance and capacity, you then need to actually then look at that. And then the other points I would now take is that, remember, that savings sort of component was to then give people some sort of access to control or manage or pay off some of their debts and so forth. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the things that could be considered relating to that.
Thank you so much for weighing in on this conversation. Speaking there to Lunga Mahlaba, who is who's the Communication and Business Development Manager at Ingunzi Wealth Group on the two-part retirement system and resignation consequences.